AB 377.
Thank you, Chairman and members. This is a bill you all might remember. I don't think it was under your chairmanship last year, but you all did have an opportunity to support it on the floor. So thank you for allowing me to bring this bill back. It's a bill designed to encourage and enable hospitals to invest in technology that will greatly reduce the risk of medication errors. This is a patient protection measure that addresses a public policy issue that's been with us for a number of years. As you know, study after study concludes that there are more medication errors in hospitals than acceptable, and there is consensus among healthcare professionals that the ability to deliver barcoded unit dose medications to the bedside is a good thing. However, the technology is very expensive, and this bill would help implement that ability. It would require all hospitals to be physically located on the premise of the hospital. That's the current law. This bill would establish a licensing category for a centralized hospital pharmacy and set parameters governing those pharmacies. Specifically, the bill authorizes a centralized pharmacy to deliver barcoded unit dose medications to hospitals that are under common ownership or control and within a 100-mile geographic radius. I do have witnesses in support and would like to seek your support again. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have 3 witnesses in support and 3 in opposition. You may begin.
Okay. My name is Keith Yoshizuka. I am the law professor at the College of Pharmacy at Touro University in Vallejo. I am both a licensed pharmacist and a licensed attorney in California. I'm formerly pharmacy director for Sutter Hospital, St. Luke's Hospital in San Francisco, and I've been an area manager for Kaiser Permanente. The technology that we're talking about today has been around for about 10 years, but in a lot of places, especially the smaller hospitals, it's really both price and space prohibitive. We were fortunate at St. Luke's to be able to get in and purchase the equipment, but right now I moonlight at John Muir Hospital in Walnut Creek. They have that technology, but the sister hospital in Concord does not, and nor will they have the planned hospital in Antioch. What this bill would do would allow John Muir Hospital to use the unidose medications packaged at the Walnut Creek campus to be used at the Concord and the Antioch campuses and other similarly situated hospitals under common ownership. I think it'd be, currently the medications that are administered, we've caught a lot of potential medication errors before they were administered. Currently, it relies on a nurse to administer the medication and verify that everything's correct. However, there are so many different medications and so many of them that sound alike, that look alike, that even though a person's best efforts, they're still only human. And this doesn't take away that responsibility, but it enhances their ability to catch that medication error.
Thank you. Any other testimony in support?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Connie Delgado with the California Hospital Association. AB 377 will allow hospitals to take advantage of this device and to barcode these unit dose medications, and thereby really moving towards the towards patient safety and reducing medication errors in a very efficient way by allowing hospitals under a common ownership to purchase just one device and again being very efficient with their dollars instead of requiring hospitals to purchase the device at every campus under the common ownership, and really allowing those patients to move towards this area of receiving treatment that greatly reduces medication errors. And for those reasons, we're pleased to be in support.
Okay.
Dawn Benton, CEO for the California Society of Health System Pharmacists, and we strongly support this bill and believe that it will lead to less medication errors.
Thank you. Before we take opposition testimony, I think we have a quorum. Can we establish that, Madam Secretary?
Price.
Here.
Emerson. Here. Corbett. Correa.
Here.
Hernandez. Here. Negrete McLeod. Here. Vargas. Here. Walters. Weiland.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. All right. Is there any Any comments in opposition to this bill? Any comments, members? Mr. Slario, would you care to close?
Yes, as mentioned, this bill is a bill that you all saw last year. It's a good bill to reduce medication errors in hospitals. I ask for your aye vote.
Okay, it's recommended do pass to appropriations. Call the roll.
Price.
Aye.
Price, aye. Emerson. Aye. Emerson, aye. Corbett.
Aye.
Corbett, aye. Correa.
Aye.
Correa, aye. Hernandez. Hernandez, aye. Negrete McLeod.
Aye.
Negrete McLeod, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. Walters. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye. That's 8-0.
Okay, 3-0.
Leave it on call for
That'll be on call. Members, let's
Thank
take
you,
up the
Chairman.
consent calendar while we're here. I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
So moved. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Price.
Aye.
Price, aye. Emerson. Emerson, aye. Corbett. Corbett, aye. Correa. Hernandez. Hernandez, aye. Negrete McLeod.
Aye.
Negrete McLeod, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. Walters. Wyland. Wyland, aye. 7-0 right now.
Okay, 7-0.
Stays on call.
That bill's on call. Okay, next up, AB 655. Chairwoman Hayashi.
Good afternoon, members. I will take up the easy bill now.
Good.
First. I have a bill that's supported by the California Hospital Association and the Medical Association. This is a consensus bill that's been in the works for quite some time. AB 655 will improve the peer review system in California to ensure quality health care is being provided to patients by facilitating the sharing of information between peer review bodies. There's no opposition to the bill. I respectfully request an aye vote.
Any witnesses in support?
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, I guess. Marty Gallegos with the California Hospital Association. Our position is indeed now in support. We were opposed unless amended, but the current version reflects language that we have agreed to with CMA, so we are now in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jody Hicks with the California Medical Association in support of the bill, and thank not only the author but also the other stakeholders, the California Hospital Association. We've been working on this bill for a couple of years, so we're happy to be here today.
Move the bill.
Okay, any comments in opposition? Members, call the roll.
Price.
Aye.
Price, aye. Emerson. Emerson, aye. Corbett. Corbett, aye. Correa.
Aye.
Correa, aye. Hernandez. Negrete McLeod.
Aye.
Negrete McLeod, aye. Vargas. Vargas, aye. Walters. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye. That's 7-0.
Okay, 7-0. That bill is
Leave it on call.
on call also. All right, 783.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and members, AB 783 will prevent the unnecessary loss of employment by allowing medical or podiatric corporations to continue employee physical therapists as they've done for the past 21 years. Since 1990, the Physical Therapy Board of California has held that it was legal for physical therapists to be employed by corporations. But recently, the board reversed this policy and is now imposing immediate and severe penalties where physical therapists will have no choice but to quit their jobs or risk losing their licenses. About 80% of the 15,000 physical therapists in California work in offices of physicians and other health practitioners, hospitals, home health care services, nursing facilities, and not in private practice. This bill resolves an unintentional inconsistency in the law created by the Naturopathic Doctors Act of 2004, then by Senator John Burton, author of that legislation, has explained, and I hope that all of you have seen his support letter on the bill, that it was never his intention to exclude physical therapists from other professional corporations. The opposition, the California Physical Therapy Association, is using this technical oversight to dismantle the employment relationship that have existed for over 20 years and eliminate the jobs of thousands of physical therapists, thereby removing their competition. Their motivation here is purely profit. On behalf of Bill's many co-sponsors today, we have several representatives here from the Orthopedic Association, the Hospital Association, the Medical Association, and the Podiatric Association to testify in support of the bill. Thank you.
Let me just point out again, I know there are many here to testify, probably for and against. We'll take three on each side, and then everybody else will just do a me too. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm just going to introduce my witness, who is a employed physical therapist, Tim Shannon, representing the California Orthopedic Association. We're a co-sponsor of this bill. I just want to underscore what the author has stated. If you had called the Physical Therapy Board 4 years ago and said, is it okay for a PT corporation or a PT to be employed by a medical corporation, they would have said yes. As a matter of fact, they would have said McDonald's, a general corporation, could hire a physical therapist. This was their policy. But because of a legislative council opinion that was issued in September, this has been called into question. This would not be so troublesome except for the fact that the Physical Therapy Board has taken a legislative council opinion and said, we are going to, this is what they were about to do in December of last year, send a letter to every employed physical therapist in the state, which would have read as following. The opinion, the Leg Council opinion, is very specific and confirms the board's position on the legality of a physical therapist practicing in a professional medical corporation. Based on the confirmation of this violation, the board has begun enforcing the opinion of the Legislative Council. Since the board has received information you are providing physical therapy services within a physician's office, the board is advising you it is illegal to be employed in a professional medical corporation practicing as a licensed physical therapist. The board requests you submit a written plan by January 31st, 2011 as to how you intend to come into compliance with the law. Basically, you would have to terminate your employment. With me is Sharon Harrison. She is an employed physical therapist who has been an independent practice physical therapist from Orange County, and she will address our major concerns with this bill. The last thing I want to say is it's really important, in our opinion, that this bill pass this year, because if it is held up or fails, the PT board has indicated it is going to investigate and tell the physical therapists who are employed in the state, including those in Kaiser, and all those who have been doing it for many years, that they must quit. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Sharon K. Harrison, and I have been a physical therapist for 12 years. Out of those 12 years, I have been employed by South County Orthopedic Specialists, a group of 9 orthopedic surgeons, for 8.5 years. My career has been stable and rewarding, and I have been able to provide excellent quality care to my patients. What we do have that many clinics don't is an improved level of communication regarding patients, their progress, changes in protocol, patient status, and we are able to get questions answered for the patients as well. I have been on both sides of the fence, owning my own outpatient private practice physical therapy clinic for over a year. I know how difficult it can be to acquire information regarding a patient's procedure, their protocol, or any exceptions to that protocol. My patients love that they can come in for a physical therapy visit, and if they are having any issues whatsoever, I'm able to discuss this with their physician. I can ask the doctor if there was anything done differently in surgery that would change their protocol. There is no question that we provide excellent quality care, and this is evidenced by our discharge outcomes and the fact that patients come back to us time and again for any and all of their issues. Patients appreciate the professionalism, and they feel even more confident in our capacity because the physicians are confident in our capability. If this bill is not passed, I would lose a stable job that I have dedicated myself to. My patients would lose out on an excellent level of service that they may not otherwise get. At a time when many clinics are being forced to see more patients in less time due to decreasing rates of reimbursement, I am still able to spend quality time with my patients. I would like to retire in my current job, having provided loyal service to our corporation. I have enjoyed the professional relationship that I have with these orthopedic physicians, and I am proud of the respect that they have for what we as physical therapists are capable of doing. With regard to the matter of inappropriate referral, the chance of referral to our clinic is just as high as it is to any other clinic. It is based on insurance and geographic location. In fact, the likelihood is the same that fraudulent relationships may be created even when a physical therapist is not employed by a medical corporation. Those that will participate in inappropriate professional relationships will do so regardless of any employment relationship. Either you have ethics or you don't. The relationship I have in being employed by a medical corporation is purely positive, and the level of quality care that we are able to provide, and it is the patient who benefits the most. I adamantly support AB 783. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, Barry Broad on behalf of the Teamsters, organized labor. There's other unions here, the State Fed, SEIU, AFSCME, that strongly support this bill. We don't believe, look, people can leverage legislation. That's what this is about. This is not about anything but leverage. The other guys want to get their independent practice bill, and frankly, we don't care about their independent practice bill. What we do care about is it's not right to play politics with real people's lives, thousands of real people. And what somebody has done at this out-of-control physical therapy board that is way too close to the people it regulates, way too close, is decided to move aggressively based on alleged counsel's opinion, which isn't binding on anyone, not even the legislature, and declare that that is the law and order people at sufferance of being disciplined or potentially suffering criminal prosecution to quit their jobs. Tens of thousands of them quit their jobs. And yeah, you can say, well, maybe in the end they'll win a lawsuit. In the meantime, what about the tuition they have to pay? What about the mortgages they have to pay? This is their lives. And I don't think any of us should be playing with people's lives because of politics. If there's some independent practice thing they want to get, it should rise and fall on its own merits. They shouldn't be leveraging regular people for this. The rest of it, all this talk about, referrals and this and that is all a red herring, clearly, because the same issue exists in a doctor's office or Kaiser or anywhere else, whether the person that you're referring the patient to is an employed physician, an employed nurse, an employed physical therapist, an employed lab tech, an employed psychologist, an employed psychiatrist, an employed osteopath. It doesn't matter if they're employed, that they still can't render inappropriate service. And so there is absolutely no reason for this bill not to pass. It is a technical amendment. This bill should be flying through the legislature. It's one of the most amazing irrationalities of all time that a bill like this could be producing a crowd like this. We urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Any other witnesses in support? Name only, please. We can't have. We have three.
Hi, Teresa Stark on behalf of Kaiser Permanente. We are strongly in support of this bill.
My name is Dr. Jennifer Souders. I'm a physical therapist. I own my own private PT practice, and I receive the majority of my patients from physician-owned practices. That is, they own their own PT clinics, and they refer to me a bulk of patients.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Connie Delgado with the California Hospital Association, pleased to be in support.
Monica Miller on behalf of the California Chiropractic Association in support. Thank you.
Ryan Spencer, the California Medical Association. We're the other sponsors of the bill. Thank you, the author, and ask for your support.
Any other opposition? I'm sorry, support. You need support. Sorry.
Sue Bowles, occupational therapist. I'm asking you to testify I've been asked to testify on behalf of the OT Association of California in support of this bill.
Thank you.
Joe Shabai, physical therapist, 28 years. Enjoy what I do. Please support this bill. Thank you.
Lindsay Long, physical therapist in Fresno, California, and I strongly urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Angie Way, California Labor Federation, in support. This is about maintaining employee status and not forcing thousands of workers to go into the nebulous independent contractor status. Thank you.
Jennifer Simoes, Medical Board of California, in support.
Shelley Gwilt, physical therapy assistant. I'm strongly in support.
Debbie Nadell, physical therapist of 30 plus years, worked in all kinds of settings, and totally appreciate my ability to communicate with my physicians and my patients in support of this bill.
Julie Krill, work here in Roseville, work for 6 great physicians, and I strongly support this bill.
Martina Sifchar here from Encinitas, California, work for a physician-owned practice. Love what I do, love to keep my job.
My name is Chris Johnston from Sierra Pacific Orthopedics, and I strongly urge you to support this bill.
My name is Jim Eaton. I'm Director of Physical Therapy for Roseville Orthopedics here in town. Strongly urge your support for this bill.
My name is Ann Bullis. I've been in orthopedic administration for 30 years. I strongly support this bill.
My name is Tina Thornton, Director of Physical Therapy at Memorial Orthopedic Surgical Group in Long Beach, and I highly support this bill.
My name is Nicole Fox from California Orthopedic Institute in San Diego, and I'm in strong support of this bill because I'd love to keep the job that I love and continue giving quality care to my patients. I've got a bunch of letters from patients who are going to.
Eric Little from Fresno, California, physical therapist. Proud of the work we do, proud of the quality we provide, and urge your support of this bill. Thank you.
Steve Edwards, physical therapist, board-certified orthopedic specialist. I would like you to support this bill. I have 400 patient letters also in support.
Angelina Gomez from Fresno, California, and I urge you to support this bill and save our jobs.
Janelle Matusek, physical therapist. I strongly urge you to support this bill.
Molly Breckley with Ventura Orthopedics. I'm a physical therapist, and I strongly urge you to support this bill.
Laura Schwarzkopf, physical therapist, and I strongly urge you to support this bill.
My name is Maggie Carey. I've been a practicing physical therapist for 30 years. I've been physical therapist of the Golden State Warriors for 22, and I manage a practice for 15 orthopedic surgeons. I'm providing the highest quality care I've ever provided in my career. I urge you to support this bill.
Julie Choate from the Bay Area. I've been a PT for 17 years, and I respectfully thank you in advance for your yes vote on this bill.
My name is Debbie Anderson. I'm an occupational therapist and certified hand therapist. I work for a physician-owned clinic in the East Bay, and I respectfully request your vote. Thank you.
I'm Allison Lockman. I'm an occupational therapist and worked for over 15 years with 3 physician-owned practices. Work for Webster Orthopedics currently. Really urge your support on this bill. I'm really happy with my job, and we do great work. Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Eric Henriksen. I'm a physical therapy assistant, and I strongly urge you to support this bill.
My name is John Marshall. I've been a physical therapist for 23 years. Last 8 years has been in a medical corporation. It is by far the highest quality care I've ever delivered. Thank you.
I'm Rochelle Whitted from Fresno, California. Please support this bill.
Alexa Sayers from Madera, California. Please support this bill.
Nikki LaRue, an occupational therapist, certified hand therapist, and I strongly support this bill.
My name is Candace Coy from Fresno, California, and I support this bill.
My name is Chris Call from Fresno, California. Please support this bill.
My name is Mark Garber from Oceanside, California, and I support the bill.
My name is Kelly Spear. I'm a physical therapist in Fresno. Please support this bill.
Hi, my name is Erin Flay. I'm also a physical therapist in Fresno, and I support this bill.
Hi, I'm Chiho Bundan from Salinas, California, and I ask you to support this bill.
Hi, I'm Michelle Sanchez, also from Fresno, California. I support the bill.
I'm Kerry Edgar. I'm a consultant that helps a number of medical groups in California manage their PT practice. I've brought dozens of patient satisfaction surveys attesting to the high level of patient satisfaction among these orthopedic groups.
My name is Paul Emmerling from Fresno, California. I'm a physical therapist assistant. Please support this bill.
My name is Marcy Martinez. I've been a practicing physical therapist in California for 15 years, the last 5 with a physician-owned medical corporation practice. It's the highest quality of care that I have been able to provide in my profession. Please support this bill.
My name is Michael Kirk. I'm an occupational therapist from Redding, California. My family and I would really appreciate it if you'd support this bill. Thank you.
My name is Luke Wilson from Redding, California also, and support this bill. Thank you.
My
My name is Vika Greenik. I'm from Fresno, California, and I ask you to please support this bill.
My name is Kim Martin from Fresno, California, and I support this bill.
My name is Samantha Hall. I'm from Madera, California. Please support this bill.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Lembo. I've been in practice for 20-plus years, and please support this bill.
Hi, my name is Joanne Steele, physical therapist in Fresno, California. Please support this bill.
My name is Jeff Venable, a physical therapist assistant in Ventura, California. Please support this bill.
Good afternoon. Juan Melgoza, over 10 years of experience. Please support this bill. I love my job.
Matthew McQuarrie, physical therapist with a physician-owned group. I love my job, and I like to keep it strong.
Thank you. Any more testimony in support? Any testimony in opposition? Please come to the table and identify yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Dr. James D'Agostino, Doctor of Physical Therapy, Director of the Government Affairs Committee, California Physical Therapy Association. We are opposed to AB 783 and have always been opposed to physicians owning physical therapy departments. Now I'm a little confused. CMA, COA, CCA, CPA all want to employ physical therapists. And the reason they want to do this is to save all of these jobs. And the organization that speaks for physical therapists, the California Physical Therapy Association, is thwarting this altruistic effort. Does this make sense? Is this really what is going on here? The facts are that this business model is the worst model for physical therapy practice. It costs the most for the people paying for care, and it delivers the least to the patient. This business model has killed and will continue to kill more jobs than it purports to save. And this business model, based on existing California law, is the most anti-competitive and monopolistic system I have ever witnessed. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Sean Johnson.
To the chair and committee members, I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you today. As Dr. D'Agostino has just mentioned, my name is Dr. Sean Johnson. I'm a board orthopedic certified specialist and full-time clinical faculty at the University of Southern California. Now, what we know from the studies done over the past 20 years, that when physicians own physical therapy practices, the MDs owning these physical therapy practices order 2 to 3 times more therapy than the MDs who do not own physical therapy practices. And when they bill for these treatments, they charge more. Additionally, over 90% of the time when these services are performed, they fall below professional standards, therefore deemed by the Office of Inspector General as at least aberrant and possibly fraudulent. Now, the proponents of AB 783 have been stating for months that if their bill does not pass, 80% of PTs, including those who are employed in hospitals, nursing homes, and rehab facilities, would lose their jobs. As all of us know in this room, and as a PT licensing board has indicated, this is not true. I would like to direct your attention to a 2007-2008 American Physical Therapy Association survey that demonstrates the practice settings where PTs are employed. As the pie chart indicates, there's a large variety of settings in which PTs are employed. For example, about 32% of PTs work in PT-owned private practices, about 12% of PTs work in hospitals, and 9% work in universities like myself at USC. There are many other legal practice settings, but today we are talking about the 2% of physical therapists that work in physician-owned physical therapy practices, otherwise known as POPs. To clarify the employment statistics and the PT's board's stance on the employment of PT by medical corporations further, I'd like to show you a second pie chart. This chart demonstrates physical therapists employed in legal practice settings versus those employed in POP clinics. As we can see, 98% of PTs are employed in legal practice settings, whereas only 2% are employed in POPs. Since there are about 25,000 physical therapists in California, we are talking about 500 jobs in POPs. Now, I'd like to turn to the evidence that AB 783 and POPs kills physical therapy jobs. According to a study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, POP clinics employ proportionally fewer physical therapists than hospitals and PT-owned practices, and their physical therapists spend less time treating each patient. Additionally, the 2006 Office of the Inspector General study that I mentioned earlier showed that in the majority of cases there was no indication that licensed personnel had performed the treatment. Finally, you may remember my colleague, Lee Haskins, who is here today, from his testimony a few years ago on AB 1152. He testified that when he worked for a POPs, his physician employees forced him to sign off on 80 charts per day for patients that he had not seen. When he quit his job, the physicians continued to offer physical therapy without having a physical therapist on site. Unfortunately, these examples are far too common with POPs. CPT has an entire file of them. Don't let the job claims of the proponents of AB 783 fool you. I'm sure that the physical therapists working out POPs are very nice people, but the fact is that when they accept illegal jobs at POP clinics, evidence shows that they displaced 2 physical therapy jobs in legal practice settings. The Physical Therapy Board is not saying that physical therapists are going to lose their jobs. We're simply saying that they need to legalize their employment relationship. In other states, such as South Carolina, some POPs physical therapists did stay at their workplace after legalizing their employment arrangement, and the rest went to work in other settings depicted within the pie chart you saw earlier. There was no net job loss, just a minor job shift. This is not surprising because that is what you would expect in a free market system. Again, we are talking about a minor job shift of less than 500 physical therapists. Now, once again, I'd like to present to you Dr. D'Agostino.
So the facts are that when a physician owns a physical therapy department, it's always a very bad business deal, and it's usually bad for the people paying and using physical therapy. And this arrangement cannot change no matter what you do with this law. Since I was here the first time with Assemblywoman Jackie Spears at this table and promoted AB 819, the medical self-referral legislation, which is now the PORA laws, Dr. Arnold Relman, New England Journal of Medicine and chief editor, and Dr. Lauren White described why this business model cannot work and should be considered unethical. Dr. Relman saw what the MedPAC study just stated, that physicians do not need to provide these services to treat their patients on the day of service. However, ownership of these services has tremendous potential for economic gain to the physician personally and very low risk of harm. Now, because of the strong moral bond that the physician has with their patient, it's almost like a parent-child relationship. The child cannot question the physician's decision. Doctors Relman and White said that the temptation for huge profits versus the very low risk was too great of a temptation for the physician to make that referral purely for profit. And if the American Medical Association continued to support this venture, it would cause great harm to the public trust to patients and their physicians. So here's what we know. Physical therapists today are attempting to compete against this business model and have to overcome strong legal and moral obstacles. As we all know, a patient can directly access a physical therapist for an evaluation. However, if treatment is indicated, the patient must pass through the medical model to obtain a diagnosis from the physician. And the diagnosis equates to a prescription. So, considering the moral and legal snafus that a physical therapist are put in, it's an unbelievable disadvantage when they have to attempt to deliver services to the patients who really want to be treated by them. This is unfair. And in California, which is ranked one of the worst states to do business in, this law kind of supports that ranking, doesn't it? So at this point in time, with the inability to directly access patients, which skews the playing field, and if this law further passes, it further biases the marketplace, making it more of a monopolistic system.
Would you like to summarize your...
Please don't do this.
All right, thank you. Any other testimony?
Just me. Hi, my name is Paul Gaspar, Doctor of Physical Therapy, Encinitas, California. First, I'm struck with the hypocrisy of this bill. I have a document in my hand from the CMA Legislative Hot List just put out a few weeks ago. It was boasting about the beating down the hospital ownership bills of doctors just a few weeks ago, but Now they want to own physical therapists. Seems to me you just cannot have it both ways. Okay. I'd also like to say that the supporters of this bill know that their 80% claims are not true. Mr. Hartzell can comment on that if you'd like, because I do have a public document in my hands where they communicated back and forth, and they know that the 80% job loss is not true. This is about that 2% that work in POPS clinics. Okay. Now, the typical physical therapy story that happens when a physician wishes to open a PT clinic is they give their favorite PT an option. Come work for me or lose all of your referrals. This has happened to me as well as many of my colleagues here today. I was told by a different orthopedic group that if I came to work for them, I would have to maximize each prescription. More specifically, I would have to see patients for all 36 prescribed visits, even if they only needed 3, or I would be fired. Because I did not accept these indecent proposals, my practice has lost a dozen jobs to illegal POPS clinics during the last 5 years. We also had to close an office last year because POPs have unfairly controlled the access point to physical therapy in our town. And because I have had the courage to speak up against this ill-conceived bill in defense of the profession, the patients, and the taxpayers, my practice has been boycotted by the 2 largest orthopedic groups in our area, completely boycotted. What you may not know, however, is that the studies regarding physician referral for profit abuses have gotten worse since this bill was defeated in committee 5-2 2 years ago. The 2010 MedPAC report's first suggestion was to disallow physical therapy in physician offices in order to control the growth of ancillary services and wasted income in physicians' offices. In addition, an upcoming GAO report ordered by the Obama administration, which will be released within the next few months, will reveal extremely damaging information regarding physician referral for profit.
Yeah, please summarize your comments.
Okay. Sorry. In conclusion, unlike the CPTA speakers we've heard, the testimony of the proponents of this bill lacked scientific merit, was void of facts, and defies very basic common sense. As a brilliant attorney once indicated, you all must admit their story does not fit. Thank you.
Any other testimony in opposition? Name and location only, or affiliation.
Good afternoon. James Sims, President of the California Physical Therapy Association. I had 6,000 members in strong opposition to this bill, as we were 2 years ago.
Michelle McCarthy, Doctor of Physical Therapy, board-certified orthopedic specialist from Los Angeles. A physician directly asked me how much money can I make by hiring a physical therapist, and he'd had no regard for the improvement in care he could give his patient.
Paul Smith, President of California, hospital-based practice. I can tell you firsthand that hospital across town had to close, was forced to close their outpatient rehab services because of a physician-owned PT practice.
Name only, please.
Paul Smith, thank you.
Thank you.
Strongly opposed.
David Straight, physical therapist. I did lose my job because of POPS clinics. I encourage you to strongly oppose. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Dr. Cheryl Resnick. I'm a physical therapist and past president of the California Physical Therapy Association. I'm also associate professor of physical therapy at University of Southern California. And I really urge you to vote no on this. As I said to the California Orthopedic Association president, Dr. Pfeffer, when he asked me why he should say against this, it was physicians cherry-pick their patients and send the lower-paying patients to private PT practices and keep the high-paying patients for themselves. And he had to admit that that does happen.
Lorraine McNaughton, physical therapist, home health, opposed.
I'm Dr. Ken Yoshino, doctor of physical therapy from Irvine, California. I've been in practice going on now 37 years. I have been able to work on every level, from competitive athletes, from elite to high school athletes, as well as
Supporting it or opposing it?
I am going to oppose.
All right.
Okay, and the reason because this will significantly increase the healthcare cost.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Roger Bolus. I'm a co-investigator at the Center of Outcomes Research and Education at UCLA. And my personal review of the research suggests that passage of this law would lead to excess utilization and increased healthcare costs.
Jose Alvarez, Riverside. Strongly opposed to the bill. I've laid off 4 people in less than 2 years because of POPs. Thank you.
Ryan Stone from Carlsbad, California. I've lost 50% of my referrals and 2 therapists. Please vote no on this bill.
Craig Legacy, Orange County, California. I have had to lay off 5 office workers and PTs due to physician-owned practices opening near me.
My name is Spencer Schreckengaust. I'm a physical therapist from San Marcos, California, and our clinic had to close 1 clinic because of POPs. Thank you. I oppose this bill.
Hi, Susan Reichel, Dr. Susan Reichel from Long Beach, and the local hospital had to lay off 14 therapists, orthopedic therapists, due to this problem. I oppose. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Case. I'm a physical therapist in Solana Beach, California, and my clinic had to lay off 2 physical therapists because of this.
Dr. Ryan Pike, physical therapist in Encinitas. Our physical therapy clinic had to lay off 2 clinics, or physical therapists, regards to POPs. Thank you. Strongly opposed.
Dr. Robert Snow, board-certified orthopedics specialist in physical therapy from Vista, California. My practice has lost several therapists due to the POPs clinics, and I love my job as well. Thank you.
Stacy Self, physical therapist in Orange County, California. I oppose.
Good
Lisa
afternoon.
Trevino.
My name
Sorry. Oh, go ahead.
Lisa Trevino. I own 2 physical therapy clinics in Orange County. We've had to lay off 3 physical therapists, and if this passes, I'm afraid we might have to close our doors. I strongly oppose it.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Nosek, physical therapist and clinic owner in Orange County, California. I strongly oppose AB 783. I have also been approached by several physicians companies or corporations to buy out my company, and I opposed, and then I had about 25 to 30% reduction in my patient volume. I strongly oppose this. It is not good for physical therapists and patient care.
Hurst, physical therapist in Pleasanton, California. I live and own a practice there, and over the past 5 years, I've had to lay off 6 physical therapists.
Stephanie Dickerson in the East Bay of California. I strongly oppose this bill. John Muir Medical Center had to close one of their outpatient clinics because of the unfair competitive advantage of POPs.
My name is Cindy Shaw. I've been a therapist for 30 years in Orange County. I've worked in a POP setting. I've been in private practice, which is immeasurably better. Strongly oppose this. If it continues, I may have to close one of my clinics, which would lay off at least 15 people in Orange County.
Laren Hurst, my clinic is in Pleasanton, and we have lost 5 PTs, but also an additional 10 staff members for the ancillary type support. I oppose this.
Daniel Souza, Orange County. I've been a physical therapist for just under 30 years. I am totally opposed to this. This is a conflict of interest. Thank you.
I also asked the other members if they would just say their occupation and whether they oppose.
Okay.
Glenn Nesbitt, manager, clinic in Pleasanton. I oppose.
Stuart Harris, physical therapist, 25 years experience in Lafayette. I oppose.
My name is Bruce Hymanson. I've been a practicing physical therapist for over 34 years. I strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
Jill Watase, Lafayette, California, Administrative Director. I oppose.
Maria Mejia O'Neill, Vista, California, and I oppose this bill.
Dr. Stephen Clark, board-certified physical therapist. I strongly oppose this bill. Los Angeles, California.
Dr. John Waite, I strongly oppose this bill. Inland Empire, California. Laid off over 20 people and had to close the facility due to physician ownership.
Richard Katz, physical therapist of Ventura County. I oppose.
Jeff Fargo, physical therapist, Ventura County. I oppose.
Hi, I'm
Alicia Lodia. I'm a student at the University of St. Augustine and Doctor of Physical Therapy student, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Simon Gibson, clinic owner, Oakland, California. Strongly oppose this bill.
Hello, my name is Jeff Fairley, physical therapist. I own a private practice. I've been open for 5 years. I've hired 25 people. I won't open another one near a POPS clinic. Can't compete.
Dr. Dave Powers. I've been a physical therapist for 35 years, and I have lost some employees, 5 employees within the last 2 years because of the POPs, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Mike McKinley, physical therapist, Orange County. I strongly oppose.
Kevin Roush, physical therapist, South Orange County. Strongly oppose.
Ruben Salinas. I'm a practice owner at Yorba Linda. I also strongly oppose.
I'm Dr. Susan McGinty, Director of the Department of Physical Therapy, California State University, Sacramento, and I teach medical ethics in our curriculum, and this relationship that's espoused in this bill is inherently unethical. Thank you.
Jerry Durham. I employ 36 people across multiple districts. I have more job openings, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Name and your support or opposition only, please.
Hi, Neil McKenna, Solana Beach. I'm a board-certified physical therapist, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name's Shelley Marchetti. I work at a hospital. I manage 3 clinics, and we're looking at closing one, so I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Rachel Warman. I work for Folsom Physical Therapy, fabulous clinic, working to keep our doors open. I oppose this bill.
Matt Richardson, Doctor of Physical Therapy. I work for Stanford Hospital and Clinics. Please don't let this bill increase cost to healthcare system. Strongly opposed.
Chandra Villas, Los Angeles. I strongly oppose this bill.
Paul Carlisle, Associate Clinical Professor, UCSF, SFSU. I strongly oppose this bill.
I'm Eric. I'm from Napa. I'm the small businessman everybody talks about. I strongly urge you to oppose this bill. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hi, I'm Sean Valentine. I'm a doctoral candidate at the at Elon University. And for the future of my profession, I strongly oppose this bill.
Andrew Steele, Orange County, California. I strongly urge you to oppose this bill.
Jessica Manley. I'm a student at UCSF, SFSU, and I strongly urge you to oppose this bill.
Lee Allen, San Francisco, California. I work for a hospital-based outpatient clinic that employs PTs, occupational therapists, speech therapists, and office staff. I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Lee Yek. I hope to be a physical therapist. This is my future and my future patient's health. Please oppose this bill.
My name is Danielle Gilbert, and I'm also a candidate for doctorate of physical therapy, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Maggie Cosgrove. I'm a student of physical therapy getting my doctorate at UCSF, and this bill is going to make it harder for me to get a job when I get out of school. Thanks.
My name is Rachel Ling. I'm a former patient of physical therapy, and I strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
Dr. Sarah Peabody, physical therapist, and I oppose this bill.
Chuck Felder, physical therapist and business consultant, aware of over 30 job losses, and there's 3,100 people that have signed a petition that aren't here today. Thank you for opposing.
Vanessa Tippon, a UCSF, SFSU, doctorate of physical therapy student, and I strongly oppose this bill.
I'm James Quinn, physical therapist assistant. I've worked in both physician and physical therapy owned clinics, and I oppose this bill.
Chris Reed, physical therapist, San Jose, California. I strongly oppose this bill.
Lillian Chen, Pasadena, California. 27 position loss. Opposing.
Michael Fortunace, Arcadia, California. The local orthopedic group told me how on $200,000 worth of billing a month, they make $100,000. My clinic bringing in $200,000 a month makes $5,000 to $7,000. They see 4 patients an hour. We see 2.
My name is Hiten Dave. I'm a physical therapist for 25 years in Pleasanton, California. I oppose this bill strongly because I had to let go 3 physical therapists and 2 of my billing staff because no business.
My name is Alan Lang. I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I lived long enough to see my kids graduate from high school. I lived long enough to see a cure for multiple sclerosis. I'd like to live long enough to see physician-owned practices be a thing of the past. Thank you for your consideration.
Hello, my name is Chris Oda. Private practice 25 years, Campbell, California. I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Todd Soares, a clinical orthopedic specialist, 20 years of private practice. in the name of honest competition and a level playing field, please oppose this bill.
Hi, Ronnie Ena, Doctor of Physical Therapy, Visalia, California. Strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Todd Martin, physical therapist, Visalia, California, and I urge you to strongly oppose this bill.
I'm Richard Rose, Doctor of Physical Therapy. I practice in Tulare County, and I suggest you strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Lisa McCarthy. I'm a physical therapist. I'm also a board-certified geriatric physical therapist. I see a lot of vulnerable patients who have cognitive problems. I strongly ask you to vote no on this bill. This is bad for public interest. Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Scarpelli. I'm a board-certified clinical specialist in orthopedics and a fellow in the American Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy. I'm in private practice, and I also contract for Kaiser, and I ask you to oppose this bill because it is unethical, does not have an even playing field, and it just gives the physicians way too much control. Thank you.
My name is Linda Zellerbeck. I've been a physical therapist for 33 years in acute care at St. Francis Hospital, and I oppose this bill.
My name is Patrick Ham. I'm in private practice, business owner from Santa Rosa, California. I urge you to oppose this bill.
Any other comments in opposition? I want to thank everyone for testifying. Maybe we should, before we go on for questions, we should hear from the Physical Therapy Board. Anybody here from the board that can respond to concerns that there's going to be massive job loss by implementing this alleged council's opinion? Can you shed some light on where we are with that?
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Hart. I'm the Executive Officer of the Physical Therapy Board. I do not have any data regarding where physical therapists work. We do not collect that data. We're not authorized to do so. However, in the presentation for the bill, the way it's phrased, the 80% includes basically almost all healthcare settings. I have, you could actually probably increase that 80% to higher because it includes almost all settings.
What about plans to issue letters requiring PTs to?
The letter Mr. Shannon read is a draft letter. He knows it's a draft letter. That letter was not approved by myself. It was written months ago, has not gone out.
Are there plans to send out such a letter?
Not such a letter. We are going to be investigating. We have approximately 200 complaints. They are not priority complaints. None of them actually allege any direct patient harm. There is an alleged violation of the law. We do have an obligation to investigate all complaints. There is not any intent to make any threats. The people who may be in this situation prior to 2008, there was not a position on this statute. And so knowingly violating the law? No. Have they violated the law? Yes. That is mitigation. The board will be seeking compliance. When we send out a letter, we will be telling them that this matter is under consideration by the legislature. And we'll be asking them basically for a plan to provide us information. Some of the people may be in a totally legal situation, and so we need to determine those things. There's been lots of things said what this board's doing, and most of those are not true. We've been trying to do our job and within our priorities that existed prior to these issues. In regards to what I would have said 4 years ago, the issue that originally started this whole scenario was a question of whether or not a podiatrist could include physical therapy in the name of their practice. When I received that call from the medical board who handles the fictitious name permits for the Board of Podiatric Medicine, I suggested they call the Board of Podiatric Medicine and ask them because I had no opinion on it. In regards to the general corporations, yes, that is something the board did reverse in November of last year. It was a resolution that was passed in 1990 that did not speak to physician medical corporations. It spoke to a general corporation based on advice from legal counsel. The board did reverse that. It is a separate issue. We have never said whether a physician could or could not employ physical therapists as part of the professional medical corporation prior to this issue evolving and the receipt of the Legislative Council opinion. That opinion has been reviewed by counsel at Department of Consumer Affairs. They have concurred. We have been very methodical in trying to do this without creating any panic. We've written to the Assembly member. Well, I had personal conversations with her and her staff. We've offered to meet with them, but we've been advised that unless the board would support the bill, there was no need to meet. I spent 22 years as the executive officer of this board. My advice to the board on all scope of practice issues is we should not take a position. It is our job to enforce the laws of the state of California. If the legislature wants our opinion, they'll ask. And other than that, we don't try to tell you what we should be doing. And I've been criticized for that. So,
any other questions of the PT administrator here? Yes. Mr. Vargas and then Mr. Emerson.
I defer to you, Senator. I defer to the Vice Chair. I'll take that chance. So what type of complaints have you received? You mentioned complaints, but you did not say what kind of complaints there are. Is it about the practice?
The complaints that I'm referring to here are all complaints alleging that a physical therapist is providing care in a physician's office, and is basically alleging that that's in an illegal business practice. Whether or not the complaints are valid is going to, I have to investigate to determine the facts. Some of them may actually be valid situations. Some may not. Don't know that yet.
Mr. Vargas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little confused about the numbers here, and I know that you guys don't keep track of who works for whom. But on one side, you hear one group say that it's 87% of the people. On the other side, you hear it's only, I wrote it down here, it's only 2%. It's only 500 people. But I have to tell you, I was keeping track of the people that lost their jobs. It's probably added up to 500, supposedly, if all that was correct. So is it really just the 2%? Or is it 87%, or what is it? I mean, there's the one right there.
Right. Those are numbers that, it's my understanding, were collected by the National Physical Therapy Association. I don't have any direct knowledge to tell you.
You've been there for 22 years. You gave us your background. You can tell us if it's really just 2% or if it's a lot more than that. I mean, you ought to be able to know that.
It definitely is, in my personal opinion, it definitely is not 80%. It's probably somewhere below 10%.
Okay.
But that, that's not with any scientific basis.
Could I maybe interject here? I was going to say this in rebuttal. We have never have we stated that 80% of the physical therapists in the state are employed in a medical corporation. All we've ever said, it was actually in the Assembly Committee analysis, that 80% of physical therapists are in an employment arrangement. So we're having an argument. They stated that we've said something that we have never said. We will, for the record, we'll just assume that they're correct, that there's 2% of medical corporations that employ physical therapists. But then they say, well, that's probably only 500 people in the state. Well, Kaiser employs 800 physical therapists itself, more than that number. We don't know if that 2% is correct, but we've never said that 80% are employed by medical corporations. And one other point, and this goes to all the testimony that was saying we had to lay off these people, this was anti-competitive. If Assemblymember Hayashi and I were physicians and we decided that we wanted to employ physical therapists, we could. There is no law that says that a partnership, a solo practitioner, or any other physician can employ. It's only in the medical corporation. And that's why this was referred to earlier as a technicality. For whatever reason, going back to 1980, when the Moscone Corporation...
Mr. Chair, that wasn't my question.
Yeah, but I just...
No, hold on.
Wait a minute. Did you have a comment?
Yes, I was asking the gentleman over there.
All right, let's get that answered. That question answered.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So then, it's probably not 80%, and it's probably a smaller percentage. I was going to ask then about the hospital, because my understanding is that you have the Kaiser Permanente, the northern hospital, the northern part of that, not the hospital, but northern part. They in fact hire people. It's a fairly large number, I would suspect, just in and of itself.
Well, part of what we've been doing prior to writing letters and stirring anything up is trying to figure out some of the different things that would. First of all, hospitals themselves are under a different set of laws. So physical therapists working for hospitals would not be impacted by this particular issue. Kaiser, you have to actually break down into 4 different sections. You have northern and southern Kaiser. You have, within that, you have physical therapists employed by the hospital in both Northern and Southern California. They would not be impacted. Southern California, there are physical therapists employed by a physician of Kaiser Physician Medical Group that's not incorporated. It's a partnership. They are legal. In Northern California, it's my understanding that it is a professional medical corporation. So those physical therapists working in Northern California Kaiser would be in violation of the current understanding of this law.
And just lastly, and thank you, Mr. Chair, one last question. When you talk about legal, it is based then on what has been talked about so far, the reference to the opinion of the alleged counsel as well as the consumer group. Has there been a court determination on this, whether it was legal or illegal?
No, basically you have alleged counsel opinion that's been reviewed by the Department of Consumer Affairs counsel to the board. When you read the entire legal opinion, you read the entire law. I'm not an attorney. The attorneys advise me there's no reason to question that. We are going forward on what the law is being told us is. We understand the alleged counsel doesn't make the laws. You guys make the laws. But they're the highest, one of the highest legal authorities in the state as to what the laws mean, and based on all the attorneys that are neutral on the issue, that's our understanding.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions of the PT board? Okay, no, none. I just want to thank both sides. It's been a very rigorous discussion of issues and points. I have to indicate I've got some concerns. I've mentioned to the author. I think the bill needs a little more work. It sounds like there are a number of issues that should be resolved. Certainly, direct access is one. You may disagree or disagree with that. I think that certainly should be a part of the discussion. I'd like to see this as a 2-year bill so that we can really work this out and hopefully not have to come back every year kind of battling. That would be my preference. I don't think I cannot support the bill as it is. I do think that there's some more work to be done, and I would encourage the author on all sides to consider that as an alternative as opposed to a vote today. But I'll defer to my colleagues. Mr. Emerson.
I would like to weigh in. I think this is a traditional scope of practice issue, and I'm troubled by handling this bill in this manner. We're always looking at people coming in on the sides to try to make some changes. It appears to me that the board is not going to make a ruling that would be adverse to Kaiser, and there will not be any firings as I see this today. I think this should be a full debate about scope of practice and how we deal with this. I'm a little struck and amused by the California Medical Association, who comes here and always talks about the corporate practice of medicine and not allowing hospitals to hire physicians, and then coming in and opposing this matter. And I'm just somewhat amused by that whole thing, and so I think we need to have a full debate on this issue. I'm not prepared to vote on this issue today.
Ms. Walters?
First of all, I want to share the fact that I have some concerns also, and also I want to make sure that I'm on record in case there's a Sacramento Bee person in the audience that I opposed this bill when Senator Anderson carried it back in 2009. I, like my colleague, Senator Emerson, think we need to get this issue resolved. And I'd like to make a proposal to the author to see if you're willing to have this discussion. But since your bill, SB 783, controls the point of access to physical therapists, I think it would make more sense, in fairness, that if we took your bill and then joined it with SB 924, which was the bill that I carried earlier today, and that way, if it passed out of here and got down to the governor's desk, one would not become law without the other.
We have several, as I talked to the chairman earlier today, we have several bills authored by Senator Price sitting in my committee, and I think that would be a better vehicle for scope of practice legislation, because this is a very technical cleanup bill. And as Senator John Burton, who did the original bill, stated, this is just adding occupational therapists and physical therapists to the list of corporations that could employ these professionals. And so your no vote today, or not voting on the bill today, will mean that a lot of these people could lose their jobs. And Senator Walter, I respect you. I think you have a bill sitting in Senate Appropriations, and hopefully we'll get a chance to debate that in my committee at some point. But I think that we need to separate these two bills, because my bill is very technical. It's just clarifying that existing employment relationship and employer relationship for physical therapists is okay. I also wanted to make a couple comments, if you would just indulge me for a minute, Mr. Chair. The Physical Therapy Board Executive Director testified before you today that that he has no intention of doing anything. Well, the letter that he sent to my office back in December says that based on one Leg Council opinion, that he was going to take action against physical therapists who are working under these corporation types that we discussed. So we asked him not to do that until we can resolve this matter. We've also asked the Physical Therapy Board to provide us with some information with respect to their relationship with the industry that they're supposed to be regulating. So through numerous Public Records Act requests, we have asked the Physical Therapy Board, the regulator, to give us information between the board, the regulator, and the industry they're supposed to be regulating. To this date, we have not received anything. We finally had to ask the state auditor to do an audit of the board. So I just want to let you know that the representatives from the Physical Therapy Board, whatever he testified today does not necessarily reflect the actions that he's taken against physical therapists. He also testified that maybe more than 80% of physical therapists could be employee status. So how come those employees are okay, and this employee structure is not okay? And, the opposition also testified that the current model, business model, is unsafe. We are here because of a Leg Council opinion, not because of some class action lawsuit or because there is a complaint filed with the board with respect to consumer harm. There is no evidence that current business model that it's been in place for 21 years has hurt consumers. So with that, I understand that, the committee is not, the chair is not ready to support the bill, and it's very disappointing because this bill is very technical in nature. It has received no votes in the Assembly, in my committee, as well as on the floor. We believe that this is a good legislation that would make sure that these people who are working as employees could continue to keep their jobs. It's about saving their jobs. We walk away from this hearing today without the bill, and of course we will continue to do our job, but the thousands of physical therapists out there who are working in this business model could get hurt. So I'm very disappointed with your statements that you will not be supporting this bill today. But Ms. Walters, we look forward to getting your bill at some point. I really think that we need to separate those two bills. And if the chair loves the direct access bill so much, I would encourage you to amend your bill in my committee to add direct access. Thank you.
Mr. Weiland?
A lot of us have spent a lot of time on this legislation. I know personally I've spent an enormous amount of time, partly because of the outcome of the direct access bill and how that happened. I've listened carefully to all the arguments. There are good points, I think, on all sides. I've got friends on both sides. I've talked to physical therapists. I've talked to surgeons. It's not crystal clear, but I am going to support the bill today. And I wrote down 12 potential comments. I don't think it serves any purpose, because for each thing you say, someone else will say, well, but. I think I'll just make one general comment. It has to do with ethics and medical ethics, and I consider physical therapists also, they're medical in the sense of they're healthcare practitioners. There are good actors and bad actors. When you look at orthopedic surgeons, the real area for them to make a lot of money if they're not ethical is in surgery. And anyone who's ever gone to one or more than one, there's a lot of surgical things that are a judgment call. And the ethical one, and they make money during those surgeries, in particular those sorts of surgeries. And I think at the end of the day, I'm going to make the assumption that most physicians, most surgeons, and that's true in my experience, are pretty ethical. And I realize there's some data, and someone can say, yeah, but there's this data about overuse and the rest of it. But I also have heard from many orthopedic surgeons and some PTs that even those who own or employ their own physical therapists also refer out. Now, I'm sure there's some bad actors, and we've heard about them, but I just don't know that I would characterize all of them that way. And currently, as I understand it, the evidence was, or what was presented was, there was about 500 who are working in this setting. It's just hard for me to imagine 500 out of 25,000 that all of a sudden, with this bill, 500 is going to be 5,000. So, granted that there are good arguments on both sides, I am going to support the bill today.
Thank you. Mr. Correa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to thank both sides for that very good, lively debate. And as I was listening to my colleagues up here, thinking about this as a scope of practice, I would say it's more of, as Ms. Walter said, this is more of an access point issue. A lot of the testimony, as I listened very carefully, was really talking about economics. I really think a lot of the debate here was economics. And I've dealt with scope of practice issues. This is really who can hire whom and under what circumstances. And that to me is an access point, not scope of practice, because you're not telling folks they can do more or less here. It really is an access point. But if you indulge me, Mr. Chair, is anybody here from Kaiser? Because the issue here, I would ask through the chair, if I may, is given the uncertainty that this ledge opinion has created and that appears that the author is trying to rectify, is this going to cause you any change in your practice in terms of hiring or not hiring therapists at this point?
Absolutely. There's a lot of concern.
This is an employer I'm asking here. As an employer. Go ahead.
Yes. As an employer of, in this model, over 800 physical therapists, this issue has caused a lot of concern at all levels of our organization. And we interpret that it is a legal practice already. We quarrel with the Ledge Council's opinion as well as the PT Board's interpretation of that. However, we understand that a clarification needs to be made in law. Otherwise, we are going to have some very serious...
This clarification in law is to address how much they can practice, the scope of practice, or if you can hire them legally?
Correct. It doesn't have anything to do with the scope of practice. It is whether or not we can hire them with the medical corporation that we have.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Is there a motion? Question of the author. Absolutely.
Would you like a motion today?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
And I would very much like to ask the committee to consider supporting this bill, because this bill will not hurt the private physical therapists. As you've heard from the opposition, this business model has existed for 21 years. Recently, KTVU News did a story on this bill, and basically the producer reported that there's so much work for both sides that it doesn't, whether the bill's a good or bad bill, and I think Mr. Weiland said it well, that there are good arguments on both sides. And I have a lot of respect for my local private physical therapist in my district, and this bill will not hurt them. They will continue to be able to serve their customers as they have done for the past 21 years. And that I very much would like to have this bill today, members, and respectfully request an aye vote. Thank you.
Good. We'll consider that your close. All we need now is a motion.
Yeah, I will be happy to make the motion. I always expect that I get to vote on my bills, both in this House and the other, and so I'm happy to make the motion.
Okay. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Price?
No.
Price, no. Emerson? Corbett? Correa?
Aye.
Correa, aye. Hernandez? Negretti McLeod? Vargas?
Aye.
Vargas, aye. Walters? Walters, no. Wyland?
Aye.
Wyland, aye. That's 3-2 right now.
Okay, 3-2, that bill's on call. Okay. Thank you.
Present a bill and we'll be back. Okay.
We're going to take up SJR 40.
Yeah. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Harmon in the House.
Senator Price, could I ask for the committee's indulgence for a moment?
Yes.
There was this act my agency, which, for the record, I want to address. It was stated that a request for records was given to my agency. That is true. There was a request for records that was requested under the Political Reform Act. I did respond to that and advise the Assembly member that I was responding as if it had been a request under the Public Information Act, which I believe she was doing. Under that law, I'm required to respond within 10 days, advising how long it would take me to get the information. Instead, I responded within the 10 days with part of the information included and asked for clarification because she said she wanted all, in particular, my travel records, and I was asking did she want that for 22 years or a more concise time frame because it would significantly affect the time it would take to respond. I did have email and verbal communications with her staff, and I have sent a letter advising her that by July 5th she will have the rest of the information that we clarified. So her statement that I did nothing is false. I am retiring July 5th. After 22 years, it's very upsetting to me that the Assembly member has chosen to make this a personal issue when this board has done nothing wrong. And I just want to go on record with that I have enjoyed working with many legislators over those years. And I will send Senator Price copies of the correspondence that I sent because I am just appalled personally that accusation would be made against me, and it is false.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Hold on, please. Just 1 second here. Senator Emerson and then Senator Corbett.
Go ahead.
I want to know, even though you are going to retire, has there been any discussion by your board on repealing licenses of physical therapists because they're employed by anyone?
There was a discussion at our last board meeting on the overall issue. And frankly, I've been criticized for doing things I haven't done, and I've been criticized for not immediately taking action on these complaints. These complaints are prioritized. As I've said, none of them involve direct patient harm, so they're a very low priority. We will be sending letters out. We will be advising the people of the alleged counsel opinion, the interpretation of the law, and asking for their response so that we can determine whether or not there would be. We are not going to be telling them they have to quit. What we are going to be telling them is that whatever action the committee has, the final action on this vote, we'll be letting them know. We'll be letting them what the law is. We may be asking them to advise the board what type of compliance. The board understands that some of these individuals may have worked for some of these organizations for lengthy times. They may be getting ready to retire in a year. What type of compliance we're looking for is going to depend on them. We're not going to tell them to quit or have their license revoked. It has to be taken into consideration in any action the board takes, mitigation. In this case, none of these individuals knowingly sought this employment, and that I can determine, with the intent to violate a law. Prior to 2008, there wasn't even, the question hadn't even been raised whether or not this was legal. I didn't have any opinion on it. Based on the Ledge Council opinion, there is an interpretation the board cannot ignore. We have to do our job, which is investigate, determine the facts, then take into consideration with mitigation what action would be appropriate.
Thank you.
Well, let me just, I will not be the executive officer after July 5th. Would I sign an accusation seeking to revoke a license based on this set of facts? No. Would I maybe write a citation? If you do nothing and this law stays on the books, there might very well be a request for compliance. And if they don't comply, there could possibly result in a citation, which is not a disciplinary action. That would be, had I gotten to the point where I would have taken action, that would have probably been my plan to issue a $0 citation to seek compliance. There is an order of abatement comes with that, seeking compliance, not as defined time period.
All right, thank you for the clarifying.
Can I have a follow-up? Are you seeing some organized organization bringing these complaints to your board?
I am aware that the Physical Therapy Association has advised their memberships of the Ledge Council opinion, and I believe they probably have been encouraging these complaints. How a complaint gets to me is not my issue.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I thought we were done. I apologize. I thought we had
That's
taken
okay.
the
He was clarifying a statement that he made.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I wasn't able to hear what this gentleman stated on the mic because there was so much noise in the room as people were clearing the room. So did you make a statement that your personal travel records were requested?
Right. Assemblymember Hayashi advised you that she'd made a request to this board and that had been ignored. That is not true. What I stated was that she made a request under the Political Reform Act for my travel records and agendas associated with that. I treated that, I responded within the 10-day period advising her that I believe what her staff was trying to do was request under the Public Records Act. What I'm required to do is within 10 days respond with how long it would take to provide the records and the cost of producing those records.
The request was for your travel records.
Correct.
Did that have something to do with this bill?
I cannot. It did not state that. You'd have to ask the assembly member that. But let me finish what I did do. I did respond within 10 days with copies of travel records for the most two recent fiscal years. It's asked for all. Being I've been there for 22 years, I asked for clarification. All goes beyond our retention policies. I wanted. We may have something. We may not have purged everything. I was looking for clarity, because that would determine how long it would take to get those records together. I have had email and voice communication with her staff, and I have recently responded, advising that she probably has not gotten that letter yet, but advising that I would be providing the third year that clarified that they wanted it for 3 fiscal years, that those records would be provided by July 5th. Her statement that we ignored it would indicate that the board did something illegal, and it also personally attacks me, and I just felt that the committee needed to know, and I will be providing you a copy of the correspondence.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, that's all. That's it. He was just clarifying. All right. Thank you. Okay. SJR 4. Senator Harmon.
I've got a sore shoulder, Mr. Chairman. I was out in the hallway with 200 physical therapists, and my golf swing is back, they tell me. Are you ready for me to proceed?
Just 1 minute.
Sure.
Let the room clear, and we'll have give everyone your undivided attention. Okay, Senator, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. SJR4 urges Congress to enact the United States-Korea Free Trade Agreement. The U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement is supported by both the White House and industry. If signed, the United States Department of Commerce estimates that this agreement will create 70,000 new jobs, but its failure to enact it will lead to a loss of over 350,000 jobs due to bilateral trade agreements enacted with Korea by Canada and the European Union. In 2010, just last year, Korea was California's 5th largest export market for goods, with exports totaling over $8 billion. The U.S. International Trade Commission has estimated that the tariff cuts alone in the U.S.-Korea trade agreement will increase exports of American goods by $10 to $11 billion. The U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement would ensure that Californians are given access and can better participate in world markets. California's unemployment numbers are among the highest in the country. Our first priority should be to endorse policies that bring jobs to the millions of unemployed residents of California. The Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement would appear to do just that, and it should be ratified by Congress. Today, I have with me Michelle Steele, the Vice Chair of the California Board of Equalization, and Thomas Vu from the California Chamber of Commerce to further discuss the benefits of the Korea Free Trade Agreement. Michelle, please.
And thank you very much. My name is Michelle Steele. I'm a vice chair for the State Board of Equalization. And thank you for giving me opportunity to address this issue. This is the most important one as a Korean American. I want to thank you to Senator Tom Harman to introducing this bill, Senate Joint Resolution Number 4, to urge U.S. Congress to swiftly ratify the pending U.S.-Korea FTA. This FTA will benefit Californians first and foremost. This will ensure all Californians have access and can better participate in the global market. As one of California's fiscal officer, I know that this agreement will bring more business tax revenues to the state and helps to reduce our deficit. Because most trade activities between Korea and U.S. pass through the Los Angeles and Long Beach port in Southern California, we expect more than 70,000 new jobs and more than 11 billion exports increase in trade to our great state. Greater intellectual property protections will greatly benefit California's technology, especially San Jose area, and pharmaceutical industries. Also, it will benefit our garment district and farms. And of course, we have to mention rail and trucking industry will have more work. Increasing direct foreign investment in Korea will expand Korean businesses to American businesses. Free trade agreement has proven to be one of the driving factors for economic liberalization and strategic alliance in both 20th and 21st centuries. When it ratified, the Korea-U.S. FTA will be America's largest and most comprehensive FTA since NAFTA. Beyond the economic benefits of this FTA, the state of California is also home to the largest community of Koreans outside of Korean Peninsula. Both Koreans and Americans have sacrificed dearly for freedom on Korean Peninsula. This agreement will be a statement of liberty and solidarity between our countries. As a Korean American, I know that the Republic of Korea is forever grateful for the sacrifice our United States military made during the Korean War by creating more jobs and increasing exports and stimulating the economies of both countries, this FTA will only continue our long-standing friendship. And once again, I really thank you and respectfully for your support of this joint resolution. And thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my other witness is Thomas Vu from the California Chamber of Commerce.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members. Thomas Vu with the California Chamber of Commerce. The U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement has strong bipartisan support in Congress. It has the full support of President Obama, who has stated multiple times his goal of doubling exports by 2015, and this U.S.-Korea FTA would go a long ways toward that goal. The FTA was originally negotiated under the Bush administration, but it was revised quite a bit under the Obama administration, and the agreement with the Koreans happened in December of 2010, and is currently awaiting approval in the Senate right now. And under the revisions by the Obama administration, the FTA is much more favorable to the U.S. and most notably in the auto industry, and opens up more of the Korean market and cuts many of the tariffs on U.S. cars. Because of that, it has major support from the big three automobile makers in Michigan, and also UAW support and United Food and Commercial Workers support on the national level. The full implementation of the FTA would look at generating about 28,000 jobs in California over the course of the 10 years that it takes to implement the FTA. Tariffs on major ag products would be eliminated almost immediately, and the rest would be eliminated over the course of 3 to 5 to 10 years. That includes cutting tariffs on the wine industry, pharmaceuticals, manufacturing products, telecommunications, biotech, and for the first time in any FTA, it would open up the financial and insurance services of the Korean market, $65 billion that U.S. companies can access. And for these reasons, and for the reasons that Senator Harman and Vice Chair Steele has mentioned, the California Chamber of Commerce supports SJR 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Angie Wei on behalf of the California Labor Federation. We'd first like to extend our apologies for our late submittal of opposition to this committee and apologize to Senator Harman. We've been a little bit focused on the budget. I'm sorry to say, and I apologize for that, but we are... Senator Harman is very accurate to say that this trade agreement was negotiated between the Obama administration and the business community. And what I am here to say is that the vast majority of America's labor movement stands opposed to this free trade agreement on a number of different grounds. As the good senator mentioned, it's estimated that 70,000 jobs would be created under this trade agreement. But what this estimate by the International Trade Commission does not take into account are the likely shifts in investment and offshoring that the trade agreement will have, the potential impact of future currency devaluation, the increase in the global trade deficit, and the increase in the trade deficit between the United States and South Korea. Alternative job impact studies done by the AFL-CIO and by the Economic Policy Institute document that it's likely that we will lose 159,000 jobs in the United States as a result of this trade agreement. It's also estimated that this agreement will increase our goods trade deficit with South Korea by over $10 billion, further exacerbating the potential loss of jobs in this country. The vast majority of those 159,000 jobs lost would be in the manufacturing sector in the United States, in a time when California and the whole country is so focused on trying to bring manufacturing work back to this country and trying to build things again in America. This resolution and the trade agreement moves us in the wrong direction. We'd also like to note that South Korea still fails a number of the ILO, the International Labor Organization's core labor rights. Workers continue to be and systematically be fired for forming unions in South Korea. Workers undertaking peaceful strikes have been imprisoned, and to date, 20 members of the Korean Confederate of Trade Union members, 20 members are in jail for their trade unionist activities, jailing and imprisonment that would not be acceptable in this country. Finally, to say that this trade agreement allows for the movement of goods with the Kaesong Industrial Complex, which is a small industrial group in North Korea. There's no collective bargaining rights in North Korea. North Korea's wage standards are the lowest probably in the globe, even lower than China. And to include the movement of goods through the Kaesong Industrial Complex really does fly in the face of both the South Korean trade union movement as well as the American trade union movement. And I'll just conclude by saying that I'd like to just read the conclusion of our National AFL-CIO's testimony before the Senate Finance Committee in Congress, May of 2011. In sum, this agreement does not adequately address the economic futures of workers either in the United States or South Korea. American workers are willing to support increased trade if the rules that govern it stimulate growth, create jobs, and protect fundamental rights. However, this agreement fails to meet these goals. We're for fair trade, not unfettered free trade. We'd ask you to vote no on this resolution.
Mr. Chairman and members, Angie Way has said it all. I'm with Angie. I'm a lot more scared of her than I am of Tom. So,
give him your name.
We've had, 25, 30 years, whatever it is, since NAFTA, and they were supposed to be creating all these jobs, all these agreements, jobs. Well, where are the jobs? That's all I have to say. They just never emerge. Please vote no.
Any other discussions? Any other comments in opposition? Would you care to close?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As we proceed into the 21st century, I don't think that adopting or keeping an idea of protectionism in our economy in America or California for that matter makes any sense. We're in a world economy now, and we need to be able to compete in that world economy. And going forward with the United States-South Korea Free Trade Agreement would certainly be a major step in doing that. It might have been lost in the presentation, but one of the major benefactors of the Free Trade Agreement here in California is our agricultural industry, which, as I'm sure all of the members of the committee know, is in fact the largest industry in California. Would have huge economic benefits for the agricultural industry. I would also remind you that the United Auto Workers Union is supportive of the Free Trade Agreement, and I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Call the roll. I'm sorry, Mr. White.
Just briefly, obviously this doesn't have the effect of law, but I think the reason this is important is not been stated, but just one thing about the loss of jobs. I wish, and I proposed this many times, that we would stop the bill factor and talk about that, because that's what this state is facing. There's a lot of disagreement about the whole job issue, but the reality is this country has lost those jobs, and the labor folks are right in the sense that we ought to make sure, and I think we can do that, and I'm very supportive of this, but we ought to make sure that there are labor rights in every country with which we deal. I mean, part of what helped Poland get out from the communist yoke was the labor movement. I don't think there's a single democracy in the world that doesn't have the ability to do that. So I hope as this goes forward that, and I'm quite confident that will happen, because Korea is a democracy, and that's what we created with that sacrifice those years ago. The real problem, frankly, folks, is China. China, which pollutes, China, which has the most unfair labor rules, and the rest of it. Anyway, I think we should go forward with this.
If I could just respond to the senator's comments, I've been handed a little bullet point here that said labor unions in South Korea are powerful organizations that, like American unions, work towards better pay and benefits, improving conditions, ensuring fair and safe working environments. Korean workers are free to form and join labor unions and choose on their own whether to take action. So there is a viable, enforceable labor movement.
Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Price.
Aye.
Price, aye. Emerson. Emerson, aye. Corbett. Correa. Hernandez. Negretti McLeod. Vargas. No. Vargas, no. Walters. Aye. Walters, aye. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye. That's 4-1 right now.
Okay, 4-1, that bill's on call.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Speaking of on call,
did I miss much when I was gone?
you missed a couple. Just for you.
Okay.
Let's start with this.
Yeah, let's start
Item number 3.
item number 3.
AB 377, the current vote is 8-0. Walters?
I'm sorry, 377?
Yes.
Aye.
Walters, aye. That bill passes 9-0.
Okay. That bill is out.
Item number 5, AB 655, do pass. The current vote is 7-0. Hernandez?
Aye.
Hernandez, aye. Walters?
Aye.
Walters, aye. That bill passes out 9-0. Item number 6, AB 783 by Hayashi, this do pass. Emerson, Corbett, Hernandez, Negretti McLeod. Current vote is 3-2.
All right, that bill fails.
Fails. Do you want
The woman has asked for reconsideration on that bill.
Okay.
reconsideration given?
Reconsideration granted.
Okay. We have SJR 4, item number 1. Current vote is 4-1, and that's Harmon's bill. Corbett? No. Corbett, no. Correa? Hernandez? Negretti McLeod? It's 4-2.
4-2, that measure fails.
Do we want to wait for any other votes?
Reconsideration granted.
Okay. Yep. One more vote on the consent calendar.
Okay.
Consent calendar, Walters.
Aye.
Walters, aye. That passes. I'm sorry, Correa. He's not here. That passes 8-0.
8-0. That bill is out. Thank you, folks. Meeting is adjourned.